I don't know how the heck this happened, but he brought home bed bugs. So
Oh,
yeah,
no.
yeah. So that was a terrible experience in itself. Had to get an exterminator. Wasted a lot of money doing that.
Welcome back to another episode of The Real Deal from House to Life. This is Ernie. I got my co host Charles and our special guest Jose Lastra from Movement Mortgage. He was here with us the last time. We had so much fun, so we brought him back.
I feel so
Today,
special, guys.
yeah. So today I want to just thank everybody for all your support, all the shares, all the views, and we're going to continue providing all this content for you guys, and we're answering questions. And actually, one of the topics today is from a question that somebody asked us. So Charles, can you give us a little bit of information about today's episode?
Absolutely. So, as per popular demand, we're going over rentals. What are the requirements? How to overcome those rental hurdles if you don't meet the requirements, and how to know if you're a renter or if you're actually a homeowner. Because we've all been in a place in life where we've needed something temporary or permanent. So, we're going to be discussing that and helping you guys out how to differentiate between the two.
Perfect. So I guess let's start off. I know all of us have been a homeowner, I mean a renter at one point of our lives.
Mhm.
Can you give us a little, I guess we'll start with you, Jose, a little pros and cons or your
Sure, yeah.
experience as a renter
So I rented for 2 years of my adult life.
here in Laredo?
Yeah, here in Laredo.
Okay.
It was an apartment complex. So pros, you know, the complex was great. There was a basketball court. I loved playing basketball. There was a gym. What else was there? Well, I didn't have to worry about maintenance, right? That was great. But at the end of the day, obviously, I wasn't. I didn't want to pay somebody else's mortgage. You know what I mean? I mean,
Right.
I know everybody has heard of that. I didn't want to be throwing my money away, so I quickly got out of that and got into purchasing.
Nice. So you were
Hmm.
there renting for 2 years.
Two
2 years
years,
renting.
2 years,
Okay.
yeah. It was good. Another con was that every every well, it was they hired the rent on me twice. So it was like for the first time it was like $60 or something, and the second time I guess rents were going up like crazy, and they hired it like $150. So I didn't like that very
Yeah, you're comfortable with a
much.
payment and all of a sudden it just change
Yeah,
it up on you.
yeah, for sure.
What
So
about
that
you?
was my story.
Thanks. What about you, Charles?
Well, so pros. Um, you get to split the rent, right? That way you can save a little bit of money. You definitely have like your how Jose mentioned. You definitely have somebody like a maintenance guy looking over your repairs and whatnot. But cons, from my experience, I didn't have. Well, I mean, if they're watching this, they're probably not going to appreciate this. But I didn't have the best roommates. So they were not very clean. They didn't respect noise at all hours of the night, and uh, I mean, I even have some horror stories. So one of them brought home. I'm sorry if you're listening, man. But one of them brought home. I don't know how the heck this happened, but he brought home bed bugs. So
Oh,
yeah,
no.
yeah. So that was a terrible experience in itself. Had to get an exterminator. Wasted a lot of money doing that, and then had to clean my clothes and whatnot. So yeah, clean my clothes in an industrial laundromat, and they shrank, and uh, yeah, it
No,
was
You
bad.
know,
yeah,
domino effect.
Yeah,
that's a horror story
yeah.
for sure.
So like also with me, I have the same experience with both of you. Like the pros on some of the properties I lived in were the swimming pool, basketball courts. I
Mm.
remember I lived in San Antonio, and it was like an every weekend thing. We would play basketball. Like
Yeah.
and it was
Uh-huh.
a full court basketball, so it was cool. But then also the cons, it really reminds me of like messy roommates, having trouble. I know there's a pro to getting splitting the rent, but when they don't have the money to pay the rent, then
Yeah, yeah.
that
True.
You kind
becomes a
of.
con too. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, it's I guess everybody kind of has to go through it to
Mhm.
actually appreciate becoming a homeowner at that point in life.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, I. Oh, well, go ahead.
no, no, no. And that's just pretty much. I just want to wrap it up. How we all have similar pros and cons, but at the end of the day, if you need to rent, you rent. But I guess the end goal should always be become a homeowner.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if you want to give the viewers at home, Ernie, the rundown as far as requirements. That way, if you are a prospective renter, at least you know what to expect in the real estate world.
Yeah, so first of all, I mean, a lot of times you think that you need to have perfect or excellent credit. You really don't. It just has to, I mean, it really depends on the landlord.
Yeah.
But you want to make sure you don't have any collections or large collections or like foreclosures or bankruptcies or they take away your car. If you're good with those credit, you should be fine. And then the other thing too is income. You need to have that steady paycheck and also been at least a year for most landlords. What am I missing? Credit, income.
Background?
Yeah, your background.
Hmm.
That's also something that some landlords do check background. They want to make sure that you don't have a criminal history. What are some things that you talked about earlier about the criminal history that I like the way you pointed it out.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, of course. So as Ernie mentioned, credit doesn't have to be perfect. Income, as long as we can verify your income with checks, and then but background mainly as long as we don't have any sexual related crimes, sexual assault, crimes against women, crimes against children, crimes against property. You should be pretty much safe.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then what are some objections that you've seen with the renters?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, brother. So, and this is more directed to the viewers at home. So, and this just happened to me. To be quite honest with you, this happened to me recently. So, I had a young couple that was actually moving here from out of town, right? Um, the husband ended up getting a brand new job here in Laredo. So, long story short, he didn't have uh, he wasn't making a grand amount of money. So income wasn't really there. Right? His credit was good, income wasn't there, his background was clean. So how did we overcome the income?
Okay.
The way that we did it was, and he really wanted me to fight for him. So the way that I told him, I'm like, one of the ways to overcome that hurdle is by he had a lot of money in savings. So I told him, okay, that shows that you're credible. If you're willing to go ahead and pay maybe 3 months in advance, a couple months in advance, that could help you out. So the landlord said, yeah, that works.
I'm cool with it. And it's
Yeah, he was cool with it.
nice.
So
And now I guess Jose, I know we were talking about more of the on the renter side, but I know you're a loan officer, and I'm sure you've had people go into your office saying, "Well, I don't think I qualify, but just check my credit." And do you have
Yeah,
any like
I've had
experience like
plenty
that?
of those, and surprisingly, people don't know what it really takes to qualify, right?
Exactly.
Uh, People just think that no, you know what, I don't have the money in the bank. I'm not gonna qualify. Let me just go and get a rental. Usually, maybe 75 to 85% of the time that somebody's renting is because either they know they don't qualify or they think they don't qualify, right? So I always tell my clients whenever they're thinking they were just gonna rent and they actually want to buy, it's good to have a pathway to home ownership, right? It's good not to be blinded by your thoughts of not actually getting approved. And even if you're not ready, that's what your mortgage loan officer is there for. That's why your realtor is there for, to guide you. And we can guide you to home ownership. And we've helped a lot of people, um, you know, that thought they were never gonna be able to buy, um, make them homeowners within 3, 4, even 6 months. Right? It's just a
Perfect.
process, and you need guidance.
Right. So I think like kind of recapping what you're saying is they need to have some sort of plan. And I think a quick tip is maybe use, I don't know if everybody's using it, but Credit Karma is the one that I know that it's a free app to at
Yeah,
least monitor
absolutely,
your score. Don't go by
absolutely.
what the score says because it's usually off, and I'm
Yeah,
sure you can.
correct. But you can see your credit history
Yeah,
there.
you know
You know
what's
your
actually on there.
liabilities. You know what your derogatories are, and pre-qualifying for a mortgage is going to be very similar to rent, right? The pre, getting approved for rent, just a little bit more stringent.
Right.
Um, but it's doable. And you know, we always try to not tell anybody no. It's just either not yet. Let me give you some guidance, or you're ready, right?
Right. I like that. And now, as far as Charles, do you have any experience? I know you're really good at talking to your clients and kind of getting them prepared for home ownership. Do you have any type of story or anything that you'd like to share as far as?
Um, yeah, no, of course. So most of the time, what I always find after I help out whoever needs help. If you want to go ahead and rent, I'll help you out. If you want to go ahead and become a homeowner, I'll help you out too. And one of the things that I found more often than not is that a lot of the time renters are actually qualified to be homeowners,
Yeah.
and a lot of the requirements in renting kind of translate well to homeownership. When when we look at credit, we look at for rental, we look at somebody who has fair credit, right? Most of the
Hmm.
time, fair credit somewhere along the lines in the 600 range.
Right.
We look to make sure that um, you have good income to be able to rent, because most of the time, three times the rent is what you need to make income wise to be able to rent out that home,
Hmm.
and that is plenty of income to purchase a home. So it's always a surprise to people to find out that they can actually purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in mortgage, it's a little bit more technical, right? But yeah, you have uh, minimum credit scores that you have to meet. You have minimum income limits that you have to reach. And we put that together to give you I guess a buying power, right? Or if, let's say, your credit's not there yet, we have a team, or your loan officer should always have a team to go ahead and help you out and guide you and put you in the path. That way, hey, you might have to rent for 6 months, right? So the rental side of things is still there, but you know that if you follow these specific steps and you work at it, you'll be right there, right?
So
In
the,
six
the
months.
temporary
Yeah.
to get to the
Yeah.
to the goal. Do you use credit simulators, and if you do, how does that work? Can you
Yeah,
explain?
sure. So, credit simulators, basically what we do is we get your credit score from the bureaus, right? And we say, okay, what happens if I pay this account off, or I delete this collection account? And it'll spit out a new number
Like if
of
you were to
credit
follow
score.
that
Yeah,
plan, pretty much.
yeah. If you follow that plan, so we can actually look at, okay, what happens if we, pay off this collection, or we lower the balance on this credit card, and that'll give us a path as to where you would be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months down the line, right?
Perfect.
And the cool thing about it is, in credit, a lot of people don't know, but even just time heals credit, right? Time heals all wounds. Just time by itself heals credit. Things that happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago, might start falling off your credit report, and even just waiting, maybe the 6 months, the 8 months, the year, can get you where you have to be, right?
Right.
Sometimes you don't even have to do anything.
Yeah, I like that. And the cool thing also about using Credit Karma is that as you have that plan, and if they're following the plan, you can
Hmm.
start seeing those accounts
Yeah.
go down or drop off. And
I always like to do the steps for success for my clients, the ones that are not quite there yet. So I write them the roadmap, right? And I tell them, look, it's up to you if you want to follow it to the teeth, or you kind of want to sort of follow it, or you know what, you're gonna forget about this conversation as soon as you get out, right? But I always give them that, and more often than not, they try to follow it. They follow it, and they have a game plan as to where they're gonna be 6 months down the line, right? But if you go blind, right, if you don't know what you're doing, you know,
yeah, it's like throwing
you're gonna,
a
yeah, yeah,
blindfolded, throwing a dart at a
yeah.
board. Like,
You're gonna end up renting the rest of your life
right.
if you don't take that
And I
path.
like what you're saying because it kind of goes back to our one of our previous episodes about commitment. So like you
Yeah,
have that
true,
plan, but if you're not following that
true.
commitment, it's not gonna get you
Uh-huh.
anywhere. Was there anything else you want to talk about as far as commitment or the game plan?
Well, I just want to hear about who's in Jose's team. As far as like,
Okay, so we obviously, you guys are part of the team. We have credit repair experts that are part of the team. As a mortgage loan officer, I have a whole company behind me as part of the team as well, right?
Okay.
And you already know this, right? Like in any purchase transaction, there's an orchestra and there's the director of the orchestra, right? And it takes a lot of people to help somebody close on their loan, but that's why we practice and we take our time in learning the the guidelines, the steps, everything to make it the best
So
possible
just a quick
experience.
question. So if Charles sends you a client and you guys are working together, who's the director of the orchestra? Is it you or is it Charles?
It would be Charles. It would be Charles because at the end of the day, the real estate agent and the loan officer are like two peas in a pod, right? But the one that is gonna guide the client from start to finish is gonna be the realtor, right?
Okay.
We are in charge of the financing, which is the most important part. But regardless, the whole A to Z is a realtor at the end of the day.
I think the most important part is finding the house.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No,
Yeah,
like what you're
that's
saying,
true.
like-
That's true. I was very
I
serious
was like, I
about
need
that.
to
I
put
was
my
like,
part. Like,
yeah, yeah,
I was like, my job's more important. Like, no, but, no, but it's like the whole teamwork and like
yeah,
what you're
yeah.
saying, and it's something that we all have to get together to make sure that we reach that end goal. I
But
know like some people do have to rent. I mean, it's certain situations. Like, I'm only going to be in Laredo or live here for a year because I know I'm going to get transferred,
hmm
or I know we're going to get married in a year or two, and there's
yeah.
we need to rent or whatever it is, whatever your situation is. But we're not saying renting is bad, or it's just
Yeah.
kind of if your goal is to be a homeowner,
hmm
this is like these
Yeah,
are good
correct.
topics to
Yeah,
listen
sometimes
to.
renting is good whenever you're not quite there. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else, guys?
Is there anything else you want to add, Charles? I know you had a couple things earlier.
Your mind is
Right now, I'm just soaking it all in, guys.
It's a lot of info.
It's a lot of info, and I feel like I'm playing ping pong right now. Just move my head back and forth.
Yeah.
Um,
If you want, I'll sit on the in the middle of the next time. Next time I'll invite me if you want to invite
nah, I
me.
kind of like being in the middle. It's
Yeah.
really I think I like, and that's the beauty of having a podcast. Like I like hearing other people speak, so it's entertaining.
Oh,
But
can I go back to one thing on the renting side? Parking.
sure.
Parking. Yeah.
Parking in apartments. Oh man, I remember I had to park literally like I'm not gonna say half a mile, but like a quarter mile away from my
The
stairs,
door.
and I was on the third floor. So it was yeah, it was
Taking the
pretty bad.
groceries and all
Yeah.
that. Like,
Oh no.
yeah, and then there's some people that get there super early and they
Uh huh.
park and they're like,
Yeah.
that's a reserved parking. Like they're not gonna let you
Yeah,
use that
they're not.
space.
Uh
Like
huh.
yeah, that's a good point.
So, what else, guys?
Well,
Did we wrap it up? I think it's time to wrap it up.
I think it is time to wrap it up. Well, I just want to go ahead and tell the viewers at home. Um, in life, we're all going to go through situations where sometimes we just need certain things for the moment. Uh, even like when to some of us that are married, when we were in the dating phase, right? You were in this temporary phase. You didn't know if it was going to be permanent, but at some point you had to make that commitment, and the commitment was marriage, right? It's your goal was to be with that person for the rest of your life, and it really made your life whole, right? Home ownership is absolutely no different. Yes, we're gonna have to go through seasons where we're gonna have to rent, but the moment that you get that home, your life is made whole. You have a place for your kids. You have a place to raise your family. So there's no shame in being a renter, um, but there's definitely glory, and there's definitely wholesomeness in being a homeowner. So we can help you out either way. If you want to go ahead and be if you're in the market for rental, we'll be able to help you out because we've all been there. We shared you some of our stories, some of our downfalls in the rental market, but now we're homeowners, and we feel complete, and our families are complete because of it. So thank you guys for tuning in. This is the real deal House of Life with Ernie, our special guest here, Jose Lastar from Movement Mortgage, and
Thank you for
myself.
having me again, guys.
And if you guys
Appreciate
have any questions or have anything that you guys want us to talk about next, feel free to comment below. Send us a message also, and like, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys. You guys have a good one.